So today's lesson is going to be a little bit different than my usual content, and it's inspired by a question that one of my students asked me last week. And it was a really beautiful question, and I was kind of surprised at my answer, but I've been thinking about it for a while and figured it was something that might be worth sharing here on the channel as well. And it has to do with listening to music. And this is kind of getting at the thing that I see is really, really prevalent in either guitar players or music students more broadly. And I definitely kind of fell prey to this as well, especially in maybe like my first and second year of university, where I was doing a jazz degree and I was just trying to absorb as much music as was physically possible. And I kind of flipped my brain in what I think is not necessarily the healthiest way of trying to kind of consume and learn music, where I was trying to listen to everything almost like selfishly. And what I mean by that is everything that I was listening to, I was trying so hard to get something from it, like I was trying to cram as much music in my head so that I could instantly be better. And I was listening to music that other people were telling me I should listen to. I was listening to music that had historical importance or whatever it was. And I was just actually, I think, kind of making myself blind to what was actually incredible and amazing about the music that I was listening to, just by way of like listening to it, kind of like a leech. Like I was just like, what am I going to take from this? How am I going to get something from this? I'm crying. So and so said I should listen to this, so I'm gonna listen to it. And after a while, I got kind of, burned out of doing that, because while one of the best things you can do for yourself as a creative person, as a musician, is listen to more music. I would never tell you not to listen to as much music as you can. Find as many times in your day that you can put on a record, either in the background or the foreground. I regret to inform you that even as a professional musician, I sometimes struggle to find the time to sit down on the couch and through my nice speakers up there, listen to a whole record start to finish, and to only listen to the record. Obviously, that kind of deep and immersive listening is wonderful, but we can't always achieve it. But I would caution you against listening to things because you feel like you should listen to them. I would definitely say check out music that you feel like that people recommend to you, or music that you've heard a lot about online. I totally recommend checking it out. But if you don't enjoy the music, or if nothing in it really touches you, then just leave it. That's okay. You don't need to force yourself to listen to something just because it's historically important or any of those things. Because if you're in that bit of listening to it where you're almost trying to force yourself to like it, you aren't necessarily going to get anything from it. You're just going to be thinking it's kind of ridiculous. You're going to dread it. It's going to tire you out. And you're going to be a little bit less excited about music. And I don't think that that's a super important thing to... and I think it's a super important thing to be aware of. As a creative person, as a musician, I tend to want to listen to music to feel inspired. And now, this isn't to say that you shouldn't check out music that's outside of your comfort zone. 100%. Listen to music that you wouldn't normally listen to and give it a chance. And you can check in with it. Like, for example, I will never forget the first time I heard Ornette Coleman. It was this record, The Shape of Jazz to Come, and it was actually this record. I bought it in a music store because it was on sale, and I knew that it was an important record, and it's got a super dramatic title, so I was like, it really appealed to something deep inside 18-year-old me. And when I first listened to it, I wasn't sure what to make of it. I liked it. It wasn't like I wouldn't even say I liked it. I was curious about it. I went, there's kind of something in this. I don't know what it is. I don't have the words to describe what it is. But there's something about this, but I didn't know what to make of it. I couldn't describe why I liked it or didn't like it or any of those other things. But it was something that I owned, and I periodically would listen to it. And then something clicked by somewhere between the fifth and 10th time that I decided to spin this record. And it kind of clicked to me, and I started to be aware of the internal logic of the music and the beauty of this rather abstract music for someone who is used to listening to like Miles Davis, Birth of the Cool, and Charlie Parker as my exposure to jazz. So this is all kind of to say that listening to music that is challenging or interesting to you is 100% a good thing. And like a different example is my fiance absolutely loves modern pop music. I'm these days I hear a lot of Taylor Swift and Chappell Roan. I'm a bigger Chappell Roan fan than I am a Taylor Swift fan, but listening to that music, I always try to find something that I like about it, or things like that. But in my free time, I don't find myself reaching to listen to those a lot. And it's something that I think you should really try to trust your gut on. Is there's nothing wrong with checking out something because they say you should. Like I remember in high school, my guitar teacher really pushed a lot of Bach on me. And at the time, I wasn't super into it, and I didn't spend a bunch of my own free time listening to it. Whereas now, Bach is actually something that I listen to quite regularly. So again, having these kinds of things, if you're interested in it and it feels good, check it out and give yourself some time to maybe come around to it. But don't treat listening to music like it's homework. I don't think that's a particularly good use of your time, because if the entire time you're listening to something that you're supposed to listen to, you're thinking, this is kind of silly, I don't really like this, man, I can't wait for this to be over so I can put on this music that I actually really love, I would advise against doing that. So if you're exploring outside your comfort zone, check out obviously what people are recommending you, what your friends are recommending you, what you see on the internet is historically important, whatever it may be. But I don't like the idea of approaching this listening as it's like this competitive sport where you're going to absorb it and you're going to outwork the next guy, and by listening to this music it's going to open these worlds. I think for you to really be transformed by music in this kind of way, I think you really need to be interested in it and love it. There's this really deep connection I have to all of the music that's kind of opened my eyes to certain things or changed perspectives. It's music that I loved, and it's music that I was excited by. And this is also to say that when you're checking out, say, an artist, like someone I think of a lot with stuff like this is Pat Metheny. Pat Metheny is undeniably probably one of my top 10, top 15 favorite guitarists of all time. But if you were to quiz me on him, I probably only have about 5 to 10 records that I could say really like stand out and made an impact. And I've listened to a bunch of his stuff. He's released a record a year, I think, since like 1977. So there's a lot of Pat Metheny out there. And not all of it is something that I'm going to go back to and listen a bunch. There's a bunch of stuff that I've listened to once and gone, that's a beautiful album, that's great. But it's not something that I've poured over for hours and hours and hours and absorbed absolutely all of, if that makes any sense. So when you listen to stuff that's outside of your comfort zone or you're checking out a new artist, feel free to go through and see if there's something that really kind of grabs you. And then maybe spend some more of your time there. That's a really good way to go about it. But I really loathe this notion of just trying to like by osmosis and by brute force kind of like overpowering you and your senses into liking something. Because I don't think that it's a super efficient way to learn. I think it kind of risks making music a whole lot less fun for you. And I would say, like, wherever possible, try to follow kind of where the joy and where your curiosity is with music. And I think you'll be able to absorb a lot more from it that way, rather than forcing yourself through all of these things that you have to do. I think you'll get much more out of it if you're a little bit more diverse and a little bit more focused on things that really excite you. So I would love to hear what you think about all of this down in the comments. Do you feel pressure to be listening to a whole bunch of music because you should? Have you had kind of similar epiphanies to me? Is there an artist that you didn't like at first but you kept coming back to and now they're one of your favorites? Just let me know in the comments. I think this is a super interesting topic, and I think we could all benefit from talking about it a little bit more. But if you enjoyed this video, I'd really appreciate it if you could like and subscribe. It truly helps me out more than you could know. If you want to take a guitar lesson with me, there's a link to that down in the description. I've been working with a bunch of you from YouTube lately, and it's been so fun to connect with people from all over the world. I also, if you want to support this free educational content that I put out here on YouTube, you can subscribe to my Patreon down below. It's a wonderful little community of guitar players, and you get early access to all of my videos, as well as some exclusive behind-the-scenes sneak peeks. It's stuff that I'm writing, stuff that I'm working on. So it's a wonderful little place. I'd love to see you over there. If you're looking for another way to support me, you could purchase my video course or my ebook, linked down in the description as well. If you're looking for some kind of, longer form content from me to really sink your teeth into. And last but not least, I've got new videos coming out every single week, so I really hope I'll see you in the next one. And until I do, I wish you a wonderful day, and I hope you have some fun playing the guitar. Thank you so much for watching.